birth choices: natural birth or C-section. Oh, maybe you can adopt. Maybe you can do a surrogate birth. But we're going to stick to natural or C-section. I'm not against the C-section, but I prefer natural birth. In my experience with having my 3 children, natural birth is faster, it's easier, and it's way less complications. C-sections are a little more complicated. They have to cut you, from what I was told. Sometimes they will cut you and they would stitch you up on the inside of your stomach and the outside. Sometimes they would use staples. Sometimes they would use dissolvable stitches, and sometimes they would use a surgical glue. I know that much, all those different types. I didn't know about the surgical glue. I just found out about the surgical glue. According to the report from the CDC, Nutritional Vital Statistics System, in 2018, maternal mortality rate was 17.4%. Maternal deaths per 100,000 live births, meaning 658 women died in 2018. This figure includes deaths during pregnancy, at birth, or within 42 days after birth. That's a lot of people dying because of birth. Now that's natural birth. Compared to C-sectional births, that's not that bad. It's still bad because people are dying, but it's not that bad. Versus C-sections, although you might not feel anything, and there are some cons to having a C-section, like if you have a STI, let's say herpes or AIDS, or even HIV, a C-section can prevent your baby from having those STIs. If your baby is a breech baby, or your baby is like in any kind of danger, high heart rate, low blood pressure, low heart rate, things like that, the C-section can save the baby, and they can just cut the baby out of you. Most of the time, a lot of people, they bleed to death during C-sections. Sometimes doctors, they don't realize how close the baby is to the scalp, and how little room is between the baby and the actual scalpel. Sometimes the baby can move, or the woman delivering the baby can have a C-section during a C-section. Sorry. The baby can move, or the mother can have a contraction during the actual C-section process, and by the baby moving, that can hit the doctor's scalpel and cause the doctor to cut something that's not supposed to be cut, leading to the mother bleeding out to death. The good parts, I found out that it takes 2 years for your body to fully heal after a C-section, versus natural birth, it takes 1 year to fully move. It takes, I believe, you're down for maybe the whole 6 weeks after a C-section, versus when you push out, you can get back to normal activities such as lifting and things like that, going outside, maybe 48 hours, 72 hours, at the most a week after having a baby, depending on the person. And if like you have postpartum or things like that, if you have postpartum and things like that, then you might not want to get out the bed at all for anything. And you can have postpartum with C-section or natural birth. It's very, very painful. Sometimes people do epidural with natural birth and you don't feel anything. Sometimes they don't do any pain meds. They just go through it. Contractions are the worst part of labor and delivery. If you're not a high tolerance to pain, then or your body can't bear a child, there are other ways you can adopt. You can do in vitro. But I think you can still be pregnant with in vitro. You can have someone carry your baby, like the doctors can take the eggs out of you and place them in someone else. Someone else can carry your baby for you. I'm not against it, but I think it's weird.